What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Changers podcast. My name is Coach Jay, and today's episode is something I'm super pumped about because if you've been watching for a while, not just the Game Changers, but when this podcast was the Us Girls Basketball podcast, I ask every single guest the same question, and that is, what is the best piece of advice you would give your younger basketball or athlete self? So today, that is what this episode is centered all around. So I went on to Instagram and I went back to some of the previous episodes back. I'm talking 2-3 years ago, and found some of my favorite pieces of advice that were talked about. And I made a note, and we're just going to read them off and chat about them today. So if you guys have a piece of advice that you love so much, please comment it down below, especially if you're on the YouTube channel, because I would love to honestly take some of those in for myself because I could always use some pieces of advice. But before we get started with the episode, this is your reminder to, if you are on the YouTube channel, to like and subscribe this video. If you are listening on the audio, please rate and share this podcast. I've been working so hard for you guys. So many amazing guests are coming up so soon that are just so full of knowledge and wisdom that I cannot wait to share. So please like, rate, subscribe, share this podcast with anyone you think could benefit from it, and comment down below any type of guest you would actually want on the podcast, because that would be super cool. But with that being said, let's get started with the episode. All right, I have my handy dandy list of best pieces of advice. I'm going to go over 5 pieces of advice that I pulled and kind of chit chat about them. So we're going to start with number 1, and that is all the long hours pay off. Yes, they do. I just really do believe that this is going to encourage somebody out there who is listening, because again, we know as athletes, we put a lot of hours in, whether that is preseason, season, off season. A lot of you play club. A lot of you have a trainer. A lot of you go from, club games or season games to practice. I mean, actually, let's just take this thing back just a regular basketball season where, you go from school and then you have an hour and a half to 2 hour practice 5 days a week and 5 to 6 days a week. And then obviously you have your games, and sometimes you have anywhere between 1 to 3 games a week, and it's long with the travel, and especially college. I mean, we're traveling all the time, whether that is a 4-hour game. I'm talking 4 hours to the game, 4 hours back on a bus. Yes, a lot of colleges, you are going to be on a bus. And then on top of that, putting in the extra work, whether that is strength training or your 10 minutes of ball handling a day, or going out and form shooting, making 100 shots a day outside of practice, you are putting a lot of hours into your craft. It will pay off. It will. I always talk about that. The confidence comes from the preparation. So all of the hours that you put into your game will help you in your confidence, will help you gain skill, will help you be successful in this sport. So I know it can be tough and grueling, and sometimes, maybe a lot of times, you actually don't want to work out. Your body's tired, your body is sore, but all the long hours will pay off. And then speaking from myself now, I'm done being a athlete, and competing at that level, and it feels like it went by a blink of the eye. And I played, obviously from 5 years old to all the way through college. And yeah, that's a huge chunk of my life. But then now that it's over, it just went by so fast. And I look back at some of those times where I was like, can we just get through this week? Because I am sore. I am tired. To be honest with you, I really just kind of don't want to be on this court right now. Man, did it go by fast. And to be honest with you, I would kind of give anything to have another practice, or have another game, or have another team meeting, or pregame in the locker room, or any of those things. So I'll do anything to go back and kind of do that one more time. So this is just a reminder that if you're kind of in the thick of it, right? I know when season starts, we get in the thick of season. It's really hard. It's frustrating. We're tired. We kind of can't wait for off season. Just remember that all the long hours pay off. They do. They really do. Advice number 2 is let growth be your motivation. I love this, and I picked it that's not English. I picked it for a very specific reason, and that is because a lot of times it's hard to find motivation, or sometimes we feel like we're not growing or we're not getting better, or maybe we're stagnant. But I want you to look back on even a month ago, and maybe there's a skill you're working at, maybe you're newer to the game, maybe you're, again, working on a specific skill. A month ago, where were you at? And where are you today? So understand that, again, going back to actually advice number 1, that the long hours pay off. The long hours equal growth. You will be growing in whatever you're doing, whether that's basketball, softball, soccer, football, swimming, whatever the heck sport you're doing. If you put the time in, you are going to grow. You will. Now, when you first start off, growth will feel very fast because you have a lot of skills that you are working on at one time, and you're very new, so things just kind of flow naturally. But for my athletes out there who have maybe been playing for a while and really kind of have that foundational skill set already in their back pocket, sometimes growth doesn't feel as fast or as much because now you're working on more specifics. Still understand that if you're putting the reps in, if you're putting the time in, if you're being intentional with practice, your skill work, your ball handling, all those things, you are growing. So if you're ever in a spot where you are feeling not motivated at all, you feel like you're stagnant, you feel like you're not growing, understand that your motivation to continue to go, to continue to work on your skill set is growth. If you put the work in, you are going to grow. Remember that. And again, let this be a reminder to you that sometimes you don't see growth immediately. Sometimes growth is seen in a tough moment or in an intensive moment. So, for example, what do I mean by this? Say I am in a really tight game. It is the end of the game, or there's a lot of pressure. The team's full court pressing me, and I have to handle the ball. Sometimes I see my growth actually show when I am put in a tough situation as pressing. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So again, I haven't been that great at my ball handling. The defense steals it from me all the time, or I'm not as tight with it, kind of loose, it fumbles when I try to make a move. Then I took a length of time and I worked so hard on my ball handling, different types of full court ball handling, stationary ball handling, two-hand ball handling, cone dribbles, tennis ball dribbles, pressured ball handling, all this kind of stuff, right? And I got good at it, but then I went and actually applied it on the court while I was getting pressed, and I got to handle the ball. The team didn't steal it from me. I wasn't loose with it. I didn't dribble the ball off my foot. All those things, that's growth. So sometimes our growth is seen immediately, and sometimes our growth is seen when we are put in the position to actually instinctively let our growth be shown. I know that was a mouthful, but there you go. Okay, so I love advice number 3, and it's really funny, and it's simply girl chill. I really love that because I needed somebody to tell me to chill when I was playing, and I am here to tell you, girl chill, because sometimes we can be a little too intense. Now, I love intensity. I always tell my athletes you need to work out with intensity and intentionality, but sometimes you need to take a step back and take a chill pill. Example number 1 would be you're in a workout and you're learning a new skill and you're just not getting it. You're getting frustrated. You're literally feeling your head about to explode. You're frustrated, and because of your frustrations, you actually aren't allowing yourself to learn the skill because you're too afraid to make the mistake, or you're too pissed off that you are making the mistake. Girl, chill. part of learning is making mistakes. You guys know this, right? So there's an example for that. Another example that I would use personally for myself is that when I took the game way too seriously and I wasn't having my most fun, I wasn't in my flow state. I was too much in my pressure to prove air, or I wouldn't give myself a day off, or I literally one time went to go visit a friend and one of my conditions was, it was literally in a different state. I drove to a different state to see my friend, and one of my conditions was, is there a basketball court near your house? Because I have to work out. Instead of literally taking a day off to go hang with a friend, reset, and just relax for a second after, honestly, a few weeks of very hard working out. And I was just like, I can't go see you unless there's a basketball court. Girl, chill. I needed to chill out. There was too much. And to be honest with you, when this is coming from experience, when you are too much in a state of you're just tight, okay? You're tight, you're not having fun, you're not in your flow state, you're not going to play your best. I will tell you that right now. When you have a lot of other factors in your brain, like, I gotta get this college scholarship, or I gotta nail this skill, or I gotta do this, and you are just so worried about it and not playing in a flow state, you're actually going to enable you from reaching your full potential. And again, that's from experience. Now, I am not saying that it is bad to have goals, right? That's not what I'm saying. It is actually amazing, and you should have those goals if you want to play the next level, or you want to master a skill, or you want to maybe next season come in and average 20 points a game, or 15 points, or 5 assists, or whatever that is. That's really good, and you should dig into that. But when you let that goal become something that is more of a stressor, then you kind of find some relaxation in and confidence in, you just need to chill out, because you're not going to play your best. You're not going to average those 20 points. And it's just, honestly, it's not going to be fun for you. Again, set the goals. I want you to set the goals. I want you to aim high. But when you are just so like, I can't make a mistake, or it's do or die, or it's this or nothing, type of mentality, sometimes that can be very, very inhibiting and not good for your mental and actually, again, the flow state of your game. So there's multiple reasons why Girl Chill is such an incredible piece of advice. And I actually challenge you to sit there and kind of think about how that applies to you. Do you need to chill out on, hey, maybe I need to take a day off? Maybe I'm injured and I'm just so anxious to get on the court that I'm actually kind of putting back my recovery time, and I had 2 weeks of recovery time, and I got a little bit too anxious and I stepped on the court. Now I have 4 weeks of recovery time. Is it that you're just so tense about reaching a goal that you're playing really stiff and not free? I don't know. What is that for you? I've probably experienced all 3 of those. Probably. So it's coming from experience, and where I've had teammates who have done that as well. But yeah, what is it for you? I challenge you to think about that, write about it, journal it, maybe talk to a coach or a parent about it, and see how you can work through that. Yeah. Moving on to our 4th piece of advice, and that is, we need to be focused on the mental performance just as much as you are focused on your dribbling, shooting, strength, and speed. Now again, if you guys know what the Game Changers podcast is about, or all the training I do, it is really heavy focused on the mental performance and the mental side of your game. I remember going to Point Guard College growing up, and we would have classroom sessions, and they would talk to us about mindset. And I remember them saying that the game is 80% mental, or whatever they said. It was a very high percentage. And I remember being like, you're being just exaggerating right now. You're exaggerating. There's no way the game is 80% mental. I mean, why, if it's 80% mental, why am I putting all of this time into skill? It's obviously skill. Then when I hit my moments and I got to reflect upon my moments when I was using the game as my identity. When I was having too much pressure on myself to prove, when I literally stepped away from the game due to mental health and receiving words that coaches were speaking over me that were not true and very life defeating and not life giving, I realized how much the game mentally is and was. I think that's a sentence. But how much mental goes into your game and your performance. So much so that I learned tools about, mindset and flow statements and, again, inner dialogue and all of those things. And when I learned how to use my mindset and my mental to help me in my game, I really excelled. And I'm going to give you a few examples. So the first example is I was a point guard. And I absolutely loved being a point guard. That was my bread and butter, honestly. Yeah, I love to score, but being able to get a really cool assist or pass or any of those good things, that was awesome. So one thing I did my senior year of high school that really changed the flow state of the game for me and entering into a game not nervous in a way was imagination. So what I would do is before every single game, I would sit in the locker room and I would close my eyes and I would imagine every scenario I could in the time I had. So whether that was all the different type of motions we had, different types of, like if I drove this way and say I was doing like dribble drive and I had a pitch pass, how would I drive? How would I land on 2 feet? How would I make that pass? If I was getting pressed or trapped, how would I handle it? How would I handle even making a mistake? I actually would go through in my mind, like if I got picked or I don't know, the ball got stolen from me, how would I react to that mistake? Instead of hanging my head, I would get back immediately. And I just remember the game changing for me and how different I felt and how more prepared I felt. And then I believe I think the year after, the year before, I actually heard of this study that someone did, and I'll try to find it and link it below, but someone did a study about if I use imagination, is it equivalent to reps? And they were talking about how there was somebody who would fall asleep or be in kind of like a meditation state where they would imagine themselves shooting a free throw, and all the way down to how they lined their feet up on the line, where their toes were facing, how they bent their knees, how the dribble was, how the ball felt in their hands when they released, where was their follow through, like they could see themselves like pointing their fingers to the rim. And there was like some study shown that your brain doesn't tell the difference of that. So he or she, whoever it was actually doing more reps without the ball. And I just thought that was like the craziest thing. So again, that's one example of how a mental performance can actually be just as, if not more beneficial than actually on-court skills. Another mental performance aspect that I want to talk about is actually your inner dialogue. Now being a coach, I see it a lot more on my players. There's many athletes that I just see so much potential in, but because of their inner dialogue and what they are allowing their brain to tell them or their inner thoughts to tell them is literally stopping them from succeeding or reaching the potential that they have. And that's not okay. It actually breaks my heart. So I see a lot of players, like they're missing a shot, they miss 5 shots in a row, and they're completely out of practice. They're completely done. They think they suck. They think they shouldn't be on the court. Their shot sucks because they missed 5 in a row, this, that, and a third. You know what I mean? And we all know that we've had games where we've missed. One time, I literally airballed 4 3-pointers in a row, and I made my 5th. I airballed 4 in a row. But just because I airballed 4 in a row doesn't make me a bad shooter. I just had a bad shooting game. Okay? So we have to stop telling ourselves as athletes, if I make a mistake, if I get the ball stolen, that doesn't mean I'm a bad ball handler. That just means I had a bad possession. Singular, not hole. If I miss a free throw, that doesn't mean I'm a bad free throw shooter, especially if you're a good free throw shooter. Just because you miss one doesn't mean you're bad. You just had a bad flow of your shot. Okay, so this is why your mental performance, and actually as athletes, working on our mental is so important, and I will keep drilling that. Sometimes I feel like I talk more about the mental side of things than the physical skill side because of how important it is and how it really affected me in my life and my performance. So I know that was a major ramble, but again, I just have to talk to you guys about that. So again, here's your second challenge. Where can you grow mentally? Where can you grow mentally as an athlete? Is that your inner dialogue? Is that your pressure that you put on yourself? Is that your flow state? Is that your mistake response? I don't know, but I challenge you to think about that. Comment it down below, or put it in your journal, or go talk about it to a teammate and ask how you can be helped, because I think that that's really important for you to visit and talk about. So yeah, again, let's rerun that. Where can you grow in your mental performance? Is it your mistake response? Is it where you place your identity? Is it your inner dialogue? Is it your confidence? Is it you believing in the skills or believing in the preparation you have put in your game? Because that's a big thing I see with athletes is they put so many hours into the game, but when it comes to the court, it's like they feel like they've stepped on the court for the first time. You have to have confidence in yourself, and you have to believe in the preparation you've put on the court. Believe in yourself for all of the hours you spent dribbling the ball, form shooting, making your three-pointers, practicing your free throws. Believe in the hours that you've put and have confidence because you are prepared. Boom. There that is. Go think about that. Go. Pause this podcast and go think about it and then come back. Okay, so we're going to move on to the last piece of advice that I have here. And that is love the game, but don't make it your identity. I want to just chat about this because, again, we know that I talk a lot about identity and how that is part of my story with being an athlete and seeing many other athletes from boy, girl, from all different types of sports, all those things that we can really make our sport or what we do or how we perform our identity, which equals how we see ourselves as humans and the value we bring, all that good stuff, right? But I want you to know you can love the game, right? I truly believe, I actually saw this verse. You know what? Pause. I'm going to go get my Bible because we're going to have Bible time real quick. Hold on. Okay, we're back. Let me pull up what verse it was, and then we're going to read it because I had this thought. I was just having I was in my Devo time, and this just really stuck out to me. So I think this would be perfect for it. Okay, so thank you, God, for bringing this to my attention. Okay, so we are in Isaiah 45, verse 18. For the Lord is God, and he created the heavens and earth. He put everything in place. He made the world to be lived in, not to be a place of empty chaos. I am the Lord, he says, and there is no other. Now, okay, the reason why I love this so much, and I wrote here in my Bible, and I just honestly believe God was speaking this to me, and I want to kind of give it to you guys, what I was thinking about when I was reading the word, is that he made the world to be lived in. God didn't just make this beautiful earth, right? All the cool mountains and the ocean and the trees and the stars and the moon and the suns and all of these cool things. He didn't just make it and place us here on this earth to just be like, that's okay. Whatever, and whatnot. God wants us to enjoy our life. He wants us to enjoy what we're doing. And I truly believe that when we enjoy life, when we love what we do, when we steward our abilities and right now when we steward our athletic abilities and actually love the game that we play. Again, whether that's basketball, volleyball, soccer, track, swimming, football, whatever that is, when we love it and we put a lot of joy into it, that is such an amazing way to praise God. When we love his creation, we find joy in his creation, we are praising God and his creation. And I just thought that was the coolest thing when I was reading this. And that right now kind of goes back to this piece of advice that love the game, but don't make it your identity. Love the ability that God has given us. Be so thankful that he has given us this ability. Enjoy the ability he has given us. Enjoy the game of basketball or whatever sport you're playing. Enjoy it. But do not make that thing your identity, because when you make it your identity and when you love it more than God, now that is your idol. And when we make things our idols, we know that that is not ever going to fulfill us. And actually, that leads me to another point. Pause 1 second because I'm going to go get my notebook. Guys, he is speaking today. Okay. In church the other day, we were just talking about this stuff and I want to talk about it with you guys. Okay, an idol is something that you look to for only what God can give you. Okay, so when we rely on our sport to be the source of our joy, the source of our fulfillment, it is going to let us down every single time. But when we look to God for our source of joy, our source of fulfillment, our source for love, then that just flows through us to be able to steward the abilities that he's given us. Again, I go back to the word and I go back to what this was saying, in that for the Lord is God, he created the heavens and earth. He put everything in place. He made the world to be lived in, not to be a place of empty chaos. I am the Lord, he says, and there is no other. God doesn't want this world to be empty chaos. He doesn't want it to be just full of nothing and that he just kind of placed a tree there because it looked empty and whatever. He placed the tree strategically. He placed the mountain strategically. He placed you strategically at this time, and he wants you to live in this world. He wants us to not be of the world, but to live in the world, be good stewards of what he's doing. So again, God wants us to enjoy our life. And I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but man, I just felt that thing, and I've been literally reading about this stuff in church. My church service has been talking about it. I just really wanted to kind of, talk about that a little bit. So again, I just think that that's such a cool thing where we can love what we do. We can love our sport. Again, love the game, but don't make it our identity. We can love this game and we should love this game. But the minute the game or your performance or your stats become your idol and become the thing that you look for fulfillment, it's never going to give it back to you, and you're just going to be disappointed over and over and over again. That is why we need to look to God first above everything, because he is the only thing that can give us true joy, true satisfaction, true fulfillment, true love, true confidence, all of those things. He's the only one that can do that. So, yeah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Okay, but with that being said, those are the 5 pieces of advice that I pulled from either Instagram questions or former podcast episodes that I just really love and wanted to chat about. I, again, would love to hear your guys' pieces of advice. That's such a tongue twister. But your pieces of advice that you have been given that maybe I never mentioned, and comment them down below, because that would be super cool. I know there's thousands of pieces of advice out there that can be really beneficial, not only to myself, but if you comment down below, there's probably someone who could take that and actually really find a lot of freedom from that. So yeah, go ahead, comment. Would love to hear what you guys have to say. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching this episode of Game Changers. I just have been loving chatting with you guys, and thank you so much for the encouragement on the podcast. It really means a lot. This is such a passion for me, and it's something that I just love doing. And thank you guys so much for supporting it. It would mean the world to me if you guys could subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video, rate it if you're listening to it on Spotify or iTunes. And again, I would love for you guys to share this podcast with a teammate, a coach, a parent, a friend, or someone that you know might need this, these pieces of advice that could help them, because that'd be super cool. And yeah, would love it. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode, and I will see you next time. Peace. Ready.